This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon and welcome to Thursday webinar from XenTegra. Give everyone just a few minutes to get here in the room and we will kick off here. I see people joining in right now, so thank you for joining us. Thank you for participating today. And we're excited to talk about some Citrix and ChromeOS with both the Citrix team and the Google team. So very, very happy to have them here today. And we'll be starting here in just a few minutes. So Jeremy, Andrea, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, Philip. It's been a busy week, but I'm pretty excited to be going through this actually.
Same here. Very busy week this week. I'm excited to be here though.
Yeah, this is a fun topic. This is very, very cool stuff. And we're excited to get to talk about it today. So good afternoon to everyone who's joining in. Thank you for your time and attention. We will get started here in just a few moments. Some logistics, if you've got questions and things, feel free to drop them into the chat. You can also use the QA feature and we will be monitoring that and we'll make sure that get those questions answered during the webinar today. So welcome and we'll get started here in just a couple moments. Can't believe we're already in the month of May. It is already halfway gone too. And I still can't believe that we're in the month. So time is flying this year.
Philip, I don't know how old you are, but what I've learned is the older you get, the faster it goes. So I'll just throw that out there.
I'm feeling
I have to agree on that, unfortunately.
And then when you have 4 youngins at the house, it just accelerates even more.
Yes, it does. We're almost to end of school year for my kids and making summer plans and summer programs. So yeah, it is flying by.
It's definitely not a summer break. It's just summer is what it is.
That's right. That's right. We've got all sorts of activities and stuff for our kiddos lined up. So it's going to be a fun one for them. Again, thanks for joining, everyone. It looks like we've got a lot of folks in the room, so we won't wait any longer. We'll get started. Want to say thank you again for joining today's webinar on modernizing your virtualization and compute with Citrix and ChromeOS. We're excited to have the Google team and the Citrix team with us today to talk about this. And so we're going to get started. Let's see here. Well, first of all, for showing up today, you've already done everything you need to do to be entered into our Grubhub gift card giveaway. So after today's session, we're going to notify one lucky winner and they'll get a $50 Grubhub gift card. So by showing up, you've already done everything you need to do to qualify. And as a thank you for our sponsors today, we just want to say thanks for being here. Here at XenTegra, we truly believe work has no boundaries. This is something we think is core to the way that we work post-pandemic, but we always have believed that work has no boundaries. You can work from anywhere. And so as part of that, we've got a giveaway. We've got a promotion we're doing with where we're giving away 2 Ford Broncos. You know, it's one of those things in the post-pandemic world. We know that we've proven that we can work no matter where we're at in multiple different ways, whether that's with VDI, whether that's with remote apps. We've been able to prove this point. And so in honor of that, you can find out about this giveaway at workhasnoboundaries.com. Again, we're giving away 2 Ford Broncos and your chances for winning are like 1 in 1,500. It's incredibly good odds. So all you have to do is take a meeting with us about work topic, any work topic of your choosing, anywhere that we could help with you. And you can do that along with one of our partners like Citrix or Google, and we'll be glad to get you entered into this drawing. Now, who is XenTegra? We are a full services reseller. We like to think of ourselves as a VAR 2.0, a VAR that truly provides value to its customers. And so how do we provide value? Well, first of all, we're a reseller. We can buy, or you can buy all of your products through us. But we also stand by those products, and we only work with a select few different vendors where we've had past experience and we've had success with other customers. So you can rely on that success and those game plans to help you succeed in your business. We're also a service provider. So we provide professional services to augment what you're doing. We provide managed services if you're looking to completely outsource some portion of your IT. And then we also like to think of ourselves as a solution provider and a partner to you in the truest of sense. So we understand that oftentimes the solution that you need as a customer is not just a single vendor. It's going to be some mix of multiple different vendors and technologies, and we help bring those together. And that's a big part of the value that we try to drive for our customers, is to bring cohesive solutions across multiple different vendors. We try to make a good story with all of our vendor partners. You know, we started out as a very tightly focused Citrix boutique shop. And over the years, our customers have asked us to do more and more and more. And so today, XenTegra is an international IT solutions provider. We've got presence now in Canada and India. And our formula is really this: it's to help you with strategic consulting. It's to give you the best advice. It's to educate. We do tons of webinars and free workshops, podcasts and videos, and all sorts of in-person events and hands-on events where you can get to know the technology very, very well. And we do that oftentimes for free for you, so that you're equipped to meet your goals and to be able to achieve your business outcomes that you're looking for. Another way that we do that, we've got a number of complimentary assessments. Our team will work with you for 4 hours for free, and we will help you get the most out of your end user compute and networking environment. It's a great way to get to know us as a company if you've never worked with us, and it's a great way for us to get to know you and your environment, and then also hopefully give you some useful tips and tricks around best practices and help you succeed better or optimize your environment. You know, our business model is pretty simple. We want to build a community, and then we want to create solutions that serve that community. And that's our founding philosophy from Andy Whiteside, who founded the company a little over 10 years ago. So with that, I was expecting an introduction slide for Andrea, but it looks like we've got something else. So Andrea, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point. Maybe we can make some introductions about the team and who's here, and then we'll jump right into our topic today.
So my introductory slide is right after this. Jeremy, I think I'm going to let you go ahead first. And let you
Right. No.
yourself.
Yeah. So, well, I'll do intro. So my name is Jeremy Myers. I work for, well, who do I work for? I work for Citrix. I work for Cloud Software Group. This is always the first topic that comes up in any sort of discussion over the last 2 or 3 months. NetScaler is a part of that. But, you know, I think what's key here is, you know, we've got integrations with a lot of vendors, right? You know, I think we've done this for years as part of our DNA. But, you know, we've got a special sort of a relationship with Google. And, you know, there are several different ways that Google fit into sort of the Citrix ecosystem, whether it's Workspace, whether it's any of the services, right? So, you know, I think if I had to argue, you know, Chrome is one of our longest running relationships is with Google. You know, we've supported Chromebooks and just the ChromeOS since essentially as its you know, its inception, right? But at the end of the day, you know, we also support things like identity into Workspace. We support GCP, you know, Google Cloud Platform, as a landing spot for any of your workloads. We've got tie-ins to our Content Collab service, ShareFile, if you will. So I guess the point is we've got a lot of hooks, you know, and we're not going to cover all the bases in this specific webinar, but we've got a lot of hooks into the Google ecosystem. And I would argue it's just not hooks, you know, it's, you know, very specific integrations, things that have been engineered from the ground up to work together. So less marketing and more, you know, actual tie-ins is, you know, as you like to say.
All right, so good morning, good afternoon to those of you who are here today. My name is Andrea Swanson. I'm our global pre-sales engineer focusing on ChromeOS for Citrix. I've spent the last 23 years of my career in IT, started off into telecom, and then quickly went into data centers and building out data centers for customers. I spent about good 12 years of my career in security, and then from there, here I am chasing after year 4 of virtualization with Citrix. So I'm excited to be here. If you guys ever want to start up a conversation, don't want to talk about work, I do have 2 Basset Hound puppies, one that's 3 years old, the other one that's 18 weeks old, and I will apologize right now if you hear her in the background. Secondly, I'm a big car fan. I have a Jeep of my own. I also love Mustangs, and I play sand volleyball regularly for myself as well. So that's a little bit about me. Philip, you want to go ahead? I'm going to talk to you guys today a little bit about virtualization and compute and how that works within the Citrix and Chrome environments. We're going to talk about the mechanics of the Citrix Workspace environment and ChromeOS Enterprise, along with how that joint solution works together. I'm going to show you some behind the scenes of how the admin console works, and then talk to you a little bit about how to get started with that as well. So for those of you that know, this here is basically 2 organizations that have been working a long time together to make their products work together, which is one of the biggest advantages for our customers in general. So basically during the journey to the cloud, Citrix and Google heard what you as the customer were saying and the core values of the solutions that you're looking for and the importance of hybrid flexibility and customer choice, right? So for example, enabling your ability to deploy and manage applications and desktop workloads, whether you're anywhere on any premise, whether you're in the cloud, you're on premise, you're doing both, whatever it works for you as you see fit within your environment. Also by using any endpoint possible. So for today's session, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on the ChromeOS portion of this and Chromebooks with Citrix. But do know that we do have an option for ChromeOS Flex. ChromeOS Flex is the ability to use existing endpoints that you have to be able to start up your environment for no cost, which is a great solution. And we do another webinar for that as well. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But one of the biggest things I want you guys to understand is that if you have any questions upon any of this at any time, please post them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer them, as XenTegra is one of our great partners that we've been working with for a long time. So let's explore a little bit about how secure, seamless access to any app and on any ChromeOS device from any location works. As you can see here, there is a deployment which is cloud-based. Whether you're using both Citrix and Google Clouds or Google Cloud Services for management and administration of the solution, there are multiple advantages for choosing Citrix and ChromeOS. Basically, what you can do is securely manage any Chrome device from anywhere, which means that you have total control of your devices and even have the possibility to wipe the device remotely in less than a minute. And all the information stays in the cloud environment and is not stored on the endpoint. So you have better control over your enterprise information. Also, one of the biggest parts that are most important to me is the advanced layers, multi-layers of security that are built in. So while ChromeOS devices are already designed to be secure, Citrix is adding that extra layer of security, helping to analyze internet traffic in the devices and protecting it real time from anywhere. You also have access to any enterprise application, right? So you have the ability to have a VPN-less access to Windows and Linux virtual apps. the DAS environment, SaaS environment, and your internal web apps through Citrix Workspace. And as always, there's the fastest zero-touch deployment experience in the market. And as an end user, you just need to turn on your Chromebook, connect to a Wi-Fi, log into your corporate user credentials, and then the device will get all the settings from the Google Cloud environment. All right, so what you're seeing here is the Google Admin Council. So Philip, since you're new, I'm going to ask you, how many policies do you think are available to our customers in the Google Admin Council?
I was going to say about 1,000, but I see the answer on screen here, and it's 750 plus. So I might be close.
Yes, you're very close. Every time I do webinars, I'm always trying to check if we've actually upped it, because every time we've actually been adding policies. So what's really cool about the Admin Council is we went to our customers and asked them questions on, hey, what is really important within your environment and how to get them started, right? And so that number, when I first started, was 250, and then went to 500, and now we're at 750 plus policies that help you be able to configure within the Admin Council. So basically, within the Google Admin Council, you'll be able to manage users with the Google ID directory, structure, operational units, device user groups, and configure all those policies and procedures that you need to set to keep your environment safe and secure. Also, within the Management Console, you'll be able to manage licenses by assigning and unassigning users. You can quickly pull up reports to provide for audits, which has really been a great feature for a lot of our customers. You can designate progressive web apps and SaaS apps that users can either download themselves or have IT approved from the Play Store or the Chrome Web Store. You can also set up advanced security settings so that you can be sure your data from your company does not end up in the wrong hands. And as always, you can make Chrome the default browser or choose another one if you wish. We'd also be happy to schedule a live working demo with you at your convenience. So for now today, I'm going to focus on a few key areas that you might be important to IT when setting up your Admin Console, such as enrolling a device, some of the security settings, how to do some force-free enrollment or power washing, as well as auto updates and printing.
So Andrew, real quick. So you talk about the Google ID, the Google directory, right? So
Yes.
with the understanding that most customers probably are leveraging AD somewhere, that's kind of like their primary directory.
Absolutely.
Obviously I don't want to recreate the wheel here. Can
Mhm.
I do a sync from, my AD out to my Google directory as sort of a sync, including things like security groups? Because, I'm guessing the idea would be, I'd like to replicate some of those groups, push down some policies based on group membership. Can you talk a little bit about that before we dive specifically into some of the policies?
Absolutely. So great question. So if you're using Active Directory from Microsoft, for instance, a lot of customers we know are, right? You already have those complete user groups completely set up. You can do a couple of different ways. You can set it up into an XLS file and import that into it, or you can manually tie into your AD directory by signing in with that information, creating your SSOs. And if you want that to be the way that they sign in as well, they have that option, right? So if you're signing in with a single sign-on from your Active Directory, you can also set up that feature already too, so that your end users aren't having to remember 5,000 different users or passwords, I should say, so that they have that same experience that they're already used to having on their Windows, Mac, or thin client that they're using today.
Got it. Okay.
Awesome. So what you're looking at here today is how to actually enroll a device. And there's many different ways to do this. So please understand that I'm not giving you every single way, but I'm kind of giving you guys a little bit of an idea on how this works. Now, if you're enrolling a device manually, this would be done by starting on the home page. So you'll have the Google admin page that you would select. You would come down to devices. You would select Chrome, apps and extensions, then users and browser section. Now, IT has the ability to work with XenTegra to utilize the service of having devices pre-configured from zero-touch enrollment. This is something you may want to take advantage of. This is an opportunity for you to work with XenTegra for them to basically set up the end user and ship those right out to your end users. So if you're in IT and you don't have a lot of time, it's a great opportunity to take advantage of. You can also manually enroll devices by placing the devices in an organizational unit that you choose. So you can set up as many organizational units as you need so that it'll fit within your company. And as Jeremy said, right, if you already have the Active Directory set up, that OU environment can easily be already set up and integrated within here. So say your company has 3 main organizational units. They have their sales group, they have their marketing group, and they have their IT group. You have the power to enroll these roll the devices based on that OU group. So if you want sales and marketing to only have certain settings for security reasons, you can. And then you can also place IT admin roles based on IT and how they're set up so that every user has a little bit of a different experience. And then from there, the greatest thing about this is that all the settings have been pre-configured for those organizational units, which will adhere to the newly enrolled devices. So what does that mean? Basically, it means that as you set up these user profiles, once you add more users into that organizational unit, they're going to inherit those same policies. But if you don't want the hassle of wasting time of setting all this up, you definitely can work with zero touch enrollment with XenTegra to get this set up for you as well. All right, so let's talk about some security settings. There are so many security settings, but for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and focus on incognito mode. Why would this be important? Basically, it's because you have the power to make sure that no one is using their devices improperly. So for instance, if you want your organization to be able to use incognito mode, and those that don't know, incognito mode is basically a browser that sets up an incognito mode so that you do not have any traces of what's being looked at within an incognito mode. So if you don't want your organization to have that, you can also go ahead and go in and prevent that. That is one of them, so that you can prevent the store of browser history to ensure that no data is getting out of the organization. All right, next security feature we have here. All right, so forced re-enrollment and power washing is probably one of the most highly talked about topics that I get from customers. So here's another way that IT has the power in their hands to make sure that their devices are getting completely power washed if needed. You don't want your corporate data leaving your organization. So let's say, for instance, Jack in your organization is on a work trip and happens to leave his device at security in the airport. Doesn't realize he is on the plane and he's on his way to his next destination, and he left his Chromebook at the airport. Whether you give them IT, you have 2 options. Well, there's a couple options you have, but IT has the ability to either power wash the device right away once Jack contacts them, or you can actually give Jack the authority right from his phone to be able to power wash the device himself. Now, the biggest thing about this is Jack's now on a plane and he doesn't have his Chromebook, and he has got a big presentation that he really needs access to present to his client that he's working with. So IT has a couple of options with this. When you go through, you can have the ability to have his information to be logged into another Chromebook. So because the identities follow you and it's in a cloud environment, everything you save is already on your cloud environment. So if he were to either go out and buy another Chromebook, or if he actually has one that his customer is wanting to lend to him, he can log in with his credentials and be able to access his entire cloud environment that has his presentation on it. So IT has the ability to either enroll the new device or giving him access to his old drive, where he will be able to still pull up that presentation and be able to continue with working that day. And then Jack can either enroll that device, or IT has the ability to enroll that device. This is the greatest piece of the admin console. Really, IT has all the power to control the endless amounts of security settings within the admin console.
So Andrea, I know we're not talking about Flex today. However, could you just touch on that a little bit? So the idea that, ChromeOS Flex is, here's a device, maybe came with Windows installed, heck, maybe even came with, Mac OS installed, but the idea that I can convert this guy into, a ChromeOS device, within a matter of minutes, right? Just by either A, having IT provide me something I could leverage, or B, if I'm in a pinch, maybe even downloading it and just running it is sort of a quote unquote live version as well, if I need to. So I'm not swapping out the device, literally leveraging it. Maybe I convert it, maybe I'm doing it live, but that's also an option and works with this same pre-enrolled concept as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. So great question. So Flex is a great opportunity for our customers, right? So say Jack doesn't have time to stop and go grab another Chromebook and he doesn't have access to one, but he has access to either a Windows, Mac, or a thin client that he can easily jump on. So what Jeremy is mentioning is there's the ability to go ahead and what we're saying is flex over the OS. So what happens is you can wipe out the current OS that's on the device of choice. And then from there, what happens is once you go ahead and install, say, a small USB key into the device, you can go ahead and flex that device over so that the Chrome OS is then on that device. And then as Jeremy mentioned, because those cloud profiles chase you everywhere you go, all he has to do is log in with his user credentials and he's in and able to work on that new device. And that device doesn't have to be a Chromebook.
Got it. So do you find even remote workers today leveraging this as opposed to sending, a device home with someone? I mean, can I run this live? I'm just in my head, I always think of this in terms of back in the day, I was a Linux guy, still am, right? But I like the idea of being able to run a distro live without actually installing it. Can I do Flex that way as well?
Yes. So the great power of this is, as you've mentioned, customers that we're working with today are actually in a little bit of a bind, right? So COVID, when we all went home from COVID, we've lost a lot of dollars that we're able to put into buying new products, right? And so this is one of the biggest reasons why customers are kind of shying away from buying new products, but also because there was a lot of devices that were just left behind. And so the ability to utilize those devices for free and they can keep them rolling and going. The greatest part about that is when they do this is when they flex over and are able to use that new OS. One of the biggest comments I get from customers is, holy cow, this is actually really, really fast, faster than the actual device was in the previous past. And as you mentioned, that whole corporate directory piece goes completely with you onto the new device.
Perfect.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about auto updates. So remember I talked about that there's the power of control. Let's see how auto updates work for customers. As always, I will advise you to be on the latest version of ChromeOS and Citrix because let me tell you, that does make a big difference in the user's experience. But for the sake of things working properly, like many organizations, you want to test out an update that's coming before it actually rolls out to your organization. You have the power here. And the greatest part of this is you can actually put test users into a test environment. So say you want to have your 4 IT people test out the newest rollout prior to it coming out. You can choose to have them set up that way. And or you can have it set up by selecting allow updates that your team will always be secure with the newest update. So as you'll see under the devices here, you'll have the auto update section and you can always allow, or you can choose to be on, say, the previous release for, say, 10 days. You want to make sure that there's no bugs. We've worked them all out prior to the release. You have that option. Features are also auto-inherited by Google. And the reason that is because, like we said, we wanted our customers to give us like what is important to them. So this particular feature is auto-inherited, meaning that auto updates automatically happen as a security setting. So if you choose to change that, IT needs to change that manually. But once these settings were set up, the top settings are it's always then set by default. So if you guys choose to do an auto update every, say, 6 months, or you want to choose 10 days after a long-term stable release comes out, you can choose to do that. But again, IT has the power of option within the latest version or previous version, whatever works for you. All right. So printing is always a huge topic for our customers. Let's see. when it comes to the organizations and what you're using, you want control of the data leaving the organization. So we'll take, for instance, some of our healthcare customers. They may not want their staff to utilize printing, right? Because they don't want to get customer data out there. Whereas a contact center may need to access printing at a certain area of a call center. These choices can be made to the organization as well as auto-inherited to each person in the organization. So if you have, say, for instance, the Texas team that you have set up, you want them to have access to printing, where the Missouri team you do not, you can choose that as well. You can also name your printing stations, right? So a lot of times customers are having issues where they're like, I have no idea what printer this is. You can go in and fully configure the physical name and location of where that device is to access that printer at any time. So again, it's all in the power of choice, all in the customer's hands. All right, so the biggest question, how do we deploy Citrix within the admin console? Well, the greatest part about this is it's really easy to set up, which is nice. So when you're setting up your organizational units, you want to configure your security settings to set up your printers and to, turn on the power of Citrix. But then from there, what we're really wanting to do is be able to go into applications where we can download the Citrix Workspace app. You would do this by going under the apps and extensions setting, that you have the ability to choose your web and SaaS apps to install from the Play Store or the Chrome Web Store. When you're choosing the Chrome Web Store, that's where you would actually type in Citrix Workspace, and then you would go ahead and download the latest version of whatever Citrix Workspace is on. That app will then be seen under your applications. Once you do that, on the the right-hand side, you'll see the Citrix JSON file piece of this. So what happens is you have the ability to paste your JSON file in from your Citrix environment so that you can get it working as well. The great piece of this is if you have any troubles with this, you can always reach out to the XenTegra team because they are great at Citrix support. As Philip had mentioned in the beginning, they started out as a Citrix only company, partner provider, right? And so this experience that this team has is there to help you go through these kind of surfaces. Also, if you're looking for like JSON writing, as far as help with that, that's a great opportunity for XenTegra to really help you guys as well. All right, security policies. One of the biggest things about this is I love talking about security because a lot of our customers have questions when it comes to security. Citrix really brings that power of advanced security through secure browser and secure internet access options within this. So you've got secure browser, which is the extra security layer. When configured, every time a user can open the SaaS apps and internal web apps, you can then create a new isolated web browser running in the Citrix cloud. The web app runs in a sandboxed environment in the cloud so that no code reaches to the endpoint. And we can say that we are streaming the content on the web then. The browser is destroyed after the use and a new instance for each app has access. The security features brings a new layer of security for Citrix and Chrome. Because you have isolated browsing from the company network, you can also protect users and enterprises from web-based threats. You have enhanced security policies, such as displaying user name and IP watermarking. You have the ability to copy and paste control by policy, and you have the ability for no files or data to reach the corporate network. And then, as always, you can keep possible attacks contained in the cloud. With secure internet access, it protects from external and internal threats. It monitors the Chromebook traffic from and to the internet, analyzing all the data in transit and protecting in real time. And one of the biggest advantages is that you can access it from any location. Previously, companies were using the internal corporate networks to protect their traffic. With secure internet access, you have this protection from any location, whether you are at your home office, an airport, a train station, or a coffee shop. I am going to ask Jeremy, is there other things you want to provide on that?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to mention here, right? So, we've got this web portal here that we've logged into. This is an internal website, and we're not doing it with a VPN, so it is 100% clientless access, client proxy or proxy. So not only are we isolating the browser, so in this case, we're using our secure browser service. So this is being hosted not only off the network, but off the device itself. But it's being proxied back in without actually having to spin up a VPN, which is a pretty big deal for a lot of customers, right? Especially from something like a Chromebook, where a lot of network vendors don't make VPN clients for it, right? And so that's not an uncommon use case. But the other piece is, we can still enable a lot of the security policies that you would come to expect on like a hosted virtual app, right? So, for instance, everything you see here, printing, downloads, clipboarding, and things like that, even the watermarking, that's something that's been a part of a XenDesktop session for a long time, and we're extending that out to web links as well that aren't leveraging a virtual app on the Chromebook, which is pretty nice. And again, this is just another service. We talked about the integration points, at the beginning of this thing. We're not talking about virtual apps. This is right next to the DaaS service in your cloud console. So just another service you turn on, and it's easy to make available. And actually, the application itself shows up in Workspace along with everything else.
So Jeremy, there's a question in the comments. It says, what is the minimum internet required to run this?
It's minimal. So in this case, this is a, I don't know the exact number, but, this is a Citrix hosting a web browser off net. So it doesn't require very much. Again, it's screen scrapes, again, this is Citrix hosting the Chrome browser, within the Citrix cloud. So again, all the processing is done by us. It's really just the HDX pieces that go back and forth. So, probably not the best use case if you've got an internal website with that's doing a lot of graphical processing, but in that case, you probably spun up a XenApp session anyways, because there's some plugins that you need to support in that scenario. But in this case, the bandwidth requirements are pretty minimal.
Fantastic. Awesome.
And Jeremy, I've got a question too. As you talk about the secure internet browsing, this is something that I'm surprised a lot of customers don't realize is in the Citrix portfolio. What are some of the use cases that you see? Like, is it offshoring? Is it secure, browsing to an internal, to your crown jewels, basically? What are you seeing out there?
That's the big use case. So when you think about it, publishing a browser, even from your own data center, or, if you're leveraging Azure, AWS, but, publishing a browser, that is an attack surface, potentially. We do a lot to lock that down, right? But, if someone only needs access to an internal website, I think we've got an option now that means not publishing a session sitting on a XenApp server that's sitting in a data center, right? Now, don't get me wrong, we can control that, we can secure that, 10 ways to Sunday, but the additional security you can add on is, let's just keep them off the internal network altogether in any capacity, and just give them access to a website, which is done by the way, in this case, this secure browser service, it's a remotely isolated browser. It's a throwaway, meaning as soon as you kill the session, everything about that footprint is gone. And at the end of the day, you're only giving that contractor access to what they need access to for the time they need access to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely does. I know in previous organizations where I've worked, offshoring is a big use case, and using something like this to deliver is a really, really novel way of making it happen, because we're always worried about data loss.
So we've got a great question. This has come up twice. Greg, I see your question about internet bandwidth. Bear with me. I'll see if I can get a link for you, and I'll post it to you.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the next layer of this. This would be the power of the Google protection. So as I mentioned, there's multiple layers of security between Citrix and Google, right? So one of the biggest areas is verified boot, which protects against dangerous attacks by ensuring that the firmware and operating system have never been tampered with and or corrupted in any way after a reboot. You also have the ability to detect malware and stop the reboot process when threats are identified. Reboots the devices with a version of the writable firmware, and the operating system. And then it also enables employees to avoid work required to remediate compromised firmware and files. So basically what this means is that there's always another instance sitting in the background that is not compromised, right? So for instance, if you're working in your environment and a tab becomes compromised, you have the ability to go ahead and restart, which restarting takes about 3 seconds. And that verified boot process comes up with you having that, say for instance, that Gmail that you were concerned about, that new instance is sitting up front with verified boot. Another area is the Titan C chips, which are actually built into all of the Chromebooks, which have continuous security. So they're designed and updated by Google. So you're always protected from the most recent threats. They also have user protection, offering protection from logins from remote devices, also brute force attacks and phishing scams. And then you also have a system integrity piece of it, which is ensuring that the OS encryption keys haven't been compromised and enforce policies remotely for it as well. Another layer of this protections is the data and I cannot speak today, I'm sorry. Data and setting encryptions. So all ChromeOS devices encrypt user data and settings. So all data and settings are encrypted with a unique key, meaning that the attacker would always need both the user's password and the access to the security module. This makes it extremely difficult for attackers to read user data. Also, the encryption cannot be disabled, allowing colleagues to share a loaner device safely and adopt the grab and go practice, which is a great opportunity for customers as well. Meaning that, as we talked about earlier, if for say Jack needs to log into a different device at the office because he forgot his Chromebook, he can go ahead and do that because again, that whole user profile comes with you. There's also the sandboxing and site oscillation feature, which is sandboxing will be the ability to limit the security threats to a single application or browser tab to keep the rest of the operating system sources secure. Also, you have site oscillation, which keeps all processes within each browser tab separating and stopping any malicious sites from the rest of the OS. As we talked about earlier with Active Directory, you also have two-factor authentication and single sign-on options. So you can protect employees against phishing attacks by turning on two-factor authentication, requiring users to provide a password and authentication key code when logging into their Google account if you want. You can set parameters for remote access to SAML single-based sign-on options so that users can access remote and web applications with the right balance of security and convenience. You also can do enrolling special user accounts into the Advanced Protection Program, a free program by Google that provides two-factor authentication in addition to other protections. There's a ton of other security features that are not mentioned here. So some of them would be like ChromeOS with the ability to block executables from running. Meaning that malicious threats often hide in executable files that corrupt your data. Those executable files cannot run on a Chrome OS, which blocks apps from running that are not from the Google Play Store. One of the big ones that I love is the HTTPS by default. A lot of customers, when they built their websites, have not switched over to that. So when a user types in the address into the address bar without specifying the protocol, Chrome will attempt to navigate using HTTPS first, but then fall back to HTTP if HTTPS isn't available. This is actually set up by default and helping to improve privacy and load speeds for users who are visiting websites. And then last but not least is always the password alert policy, right? So you can prevent passwords from being reused by automatically promoting users to change their corporate password if they enter it into an untrusted website. You can also protect the integrity of corporate Google and non-Google accounts, as well as reduce the potential risk for a breach by lowering the risk of compliance penalties and fines. All right, so now that we've learned about the management console, how to configure some settings, paste in your JSON files for Citrix, you've understand the power of security that Citrix brings in as well as ChromeOS, let's look at the end user experience. Upon opening a device, you will see the screen welcoming them to their new Chromebook. And for the user, it's as easy as a click to get started button, follow the prompts to select your Wi-Fi, and then enter your corporate credentials, and voila, you're up and running. And you'll see it's as fast as 6 seconds. User logs in their credentials and literally all their applications are working. It's super simple. All right, so you've now seen how easy it is to get started and how it all works together. But the power of Citrix and Chrome gives you the security from a managed workspace, starting with the secure browser from Chrome, leaving IT feeling secure that their employees are looking at only the things that are needed within their environments. And the Citrix Workspace app provides that secure, seamless access to any app on any Chrome device at any location, whether they access Slack, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, their corporate Gmail accounts, you're able to see it and customize it right from the workspace. Citrix DAS offers you more security with secure internet access and secure analytics for security. And to tie it all together, you have the Chrome Enterprise upgrade licenses that will manage your IT environment, giving you the ability to set any of those 705 policies and procedures to configure within your environment so that no corporate data gets out. Anything there I'm missing, Jeremy?
No, but I will say this. So just to reiterate kind of what you talked about earlier, right? So of course we've got the Citrix Workspace app configured and running on this local device. When we basically turn this guy on for the first time and we're pushing in our policies, one of the things we can do is A, push out Workspace app, and B, because we can define in that JSON file, our environment, things like that. I can also push out the configuration for Workspace app as well. So for instance, the first time experience for a user, once this thing has come back up, is I'm prompted to log in and boom, my apps just show up as well.
Sorry, I was reading the comments in the,
the chat. No, I'm just saying, yeah, I was trying to, all I want to do is point out that, as part of that onboarding process and pushing out of the apps, not only can we just get Workspace app on the device, part of the configuration on the back end is we can push out the configuration for Workspace app as well. So, how this might work in a Windows world is we're pushing out, the Windows Workspace app. We might have some command line strings we're pushing out with SCCM that will configure it on the back end, things like that. We're all doing this from the Google admin console. We're pushing out Workspace app. We're configuring the JSON file with the name of our stores and all the different pieces that we need to enable. And we're pushing that out as well. And then in addition to the fact that, we're still leveraging Citrix policies for a lot of things. And there is a global config service that is out now. It's another service in Citrix Cloud that we can, do a little configure and additional configuration as well. So the point is once you get this on the actual endpoint, we can do a lot of configuration of Workspace app itself from the Google admin console, which is pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just a JSON file we're doing from the console.
Yep. So we're getting towards the end here. So I know some of the questions are coming up, but with simple and easy to use and deploy devices, you can be sure to save time and money for IT and the end users. Whether you have the ability for seamless and secure delivery of apps, your desktops, and your SaaS apps, giving users a unified experience across the organization. Again, with that multi-layered security of Citrix and ChromeOS, giving IT that hassle-free experience, all in a unified cloud environment. And as you're seeing here, this is kind of some of the abilities that we have to enable that hybrid work environment, right? Devices are simple and easy to use, cost-effective. You have that secure delivery of the virtualized apps and your desktops. And then you have those fine-grained policies that can do that multi-layered security piece of it, along with that simplified cloud delivery management system that Jeremy was talking about within Citrix, as well as the Google Admin Console.
Well, and Andrea, I think you hit on something that's one of the hallmarks of Chrome OS, and that's the cost effectiveness of the device. As we talk about VDI strategies, and particularly where we're trying to use thin clients or some sort of an optimized user experience, that's one of the huge benefits here with Chrome OS is you can get a very performant machine at $300 to $400 price point, which you can't do with most thin clients or even with traditional PCs, Macs, things like that. You're just not able to get a performant type environment at the same price point.
Great setup, Philip. Yes, there is absolutely price points for any one of our customers, whether you're looking for something simple within the education field, if you're looking for a kiosk type of device that's just a single kiosk instance, or you're looking for something in healthcare and you need something super robust in order to be able to be productive, there is a Chromebook out there for every customer. But that also sets us up for the next piece of this, which is ChromeOS Flex that we've talked about, right? So whether you're using, like I said, any PC, Mac, or thin client, and it's an old device that's just sitting around, this is a great opportunity to get that ChromeOS experience right at your fingertips. And you can do this currently, if you're at home and have a USB stick, you can actually go onto the website, download the file onto your USB, plug it into your device that you want to flex over, and you'll be able to see that new whole hardware system set up with that new ChromeOS system on top of your existing PC, Mac, or thin client. It helps reduce power consumption and e-waste, expands the lifespan of your physical device. Also, for those of you that have been working on any Mac or PC or thin clients for a while, and you're used to that, you're getting that same user experience as well. There's no antivirus needed because it's baked into the security with ChromeOS. You can block any apps and extensions, or even remotely wipe the device if you need to. And this can absolutely be put into your environment within Google Admin Console to be able to manage within your environment itself as well. All right, so I always get asked about use cases. That's why I've added this for you guys. So one of the biggest things here, as you'll see, that we have a customer here, and this is a large healthcare organization that needed their 3,000 plus employees to have the power to work from home without sacrificing security and compliance concerns. So because nothing is stored on the physical device and the updates from the OS were set up automatically, apps and desktops can be configured automatically within Citrix, the IT department still had the ability to have their granular control policies. And how are we able to do this? Well, with Citrix DAS, we provided them the access to Epic, Windows applications on all their ChromeOS devices, giving these agents in the office experience right from their physical homes. With the power of the Google Workspace, they were able to collaborate on docs, do video conferences with their patients, and utilize productivity tools. The central management console from ChromeOS devices conserved their time by deploying in less than 2 weeks. And they were able to configure the Imprivata identity and multi-factor authentication integration, which was absolutely seamless, while providing access to those critical apps without sacrificing security. So this is another piece of it. That whole user experience is there, right? So that Citrix environment is 100% the same as if they were working at the physical hospital or if they're at home. And also that Imprivata application so that they can badge tap into if they need to get their access to those critical apps and desktops that they need. So that security setting is set at home as well. And because healthcare has one of the most stringent security procedures needed, this is a great opportunity to show you guys how we can improve security and keep your data from getting out, but letting your end users work from where they need to. All right, so the last one before we end today, this was a financial company that came to us during the pandemic, absolutely frantic on how they were going to get 6,000 of their employees from the US, India, and the Philippines to work from home. They needed to be able to have access to all the types of applications, including their legacy Windows applications. They needed support for their power users. They also needed medical imaging. They also needed access to Windows desktops. They utilized SSO for unique user mission critical apps and desktops. And then with the Citrix DAS and ChromeOS, they were able to convert every employee in less than a month with new endpoints. And they updated credentials safe to work from home, giving them that same user experience with more flexibility in their working environment while still protecting their company information. This is just a few of the use cases that we have and we're able to solve with the power of Citrix and ChromeOS. So, Philip, please tell us how customers can work with XenTegra for their Citrix and ChromeOS environment.
Absolutely. So anyone interested in this, you can reach out to sales@XenTegra.com, and that will get you into contact with your client executive. It will get routed appropriately. You can also reach out to me. I'm philip.sellers@XenTegra.com. Be glad to help proxy off any conversations with our client execs and help you on a technical level understand how this technology could work for you. We would love the opportunity to collaborate. As Andrea said, there's some slam dunk sort of use cases around healthcare, financial, offshoring, things like that we have a lot of experience delivering Citrix solutions for, and the ChromeOS paired with it just provides an incredible, an incredibly secure experience that can be centrally managed, which is a huge step forward. So we'd love an opportunity to work with you in any way that we can. Andrea, we do have a couple of questions here. So I'm going to throw these out. How frequently do you update the ChromeOS?
Great. So great question. There's two options. Regular updates are pushed out every 4 weeks, and then long-term stable releases are every 6 months. So it gives our users time to be able to test their environments to get active onto the current release within the Google Admin Console.
And those are all centrally managed as well, right? So from the admin console, you push those out to the devices, and it's a more simplistic than traditional updates like Windows Update, right?
Yes. So that user experience, if you saw that little video that showed that 6-second login, that 6 seconds is usually what they say is for your experience for updates. I usually have it in 3 seconds. I hit the auto update and literally my Chromebook is recycled and already ready for me to log back in and ready to go. So the best part about that is you're not waiting for those updates in the background, right? So a lot of times users are so used to traditional updates happening and you're not sure if it's going to be 3 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 hours, who knows, right? But with a Chrome device, every device boots up within 6 seconds and you're able to keep working so that productivity is not stumbling.
Absolutely. And there was, as part of that question, they were asking about not using antivirus. Can you clarify a little bit about what the Google services do provide in terms of antivirus?
So antivirus is not needed. We can go ahead and talk offline with customers if they do have antivirus and it is very important to them and they feel like that's the way to go. But antivirus is not needed because of the multi-layered security approaches that are set up within any Chrome OS device and any Chrome OS Flexed device. So that's actually kind of been a huge upsell for our customers because they're not having to purchase extra antivirus protection as well.
Yeah, huge cost savings there.
Absolutely.
So I think that may be all the questions. Jeremy, anything else from your standpoint? Or let's see, do we have a question from James maybe? I see someone raising their hand. I'm going to try to unmute or allow them to talk. Let's see. James, you can pull yourself off mute if you want to ask.
Thank you for this. I'm going to put this to practice. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right. I think that may be all of our questions at this point. Andrea, anything to wrap up?
As I've always said, the power of Citrix and Chrome is a great solution for a lot of our customers. And as we mentioned, there's tons of use cases that can be literally plug and play and let you get going, whether you're in the financial field, healthcare, retail, and many others. We have so many different options. XenTegra is a great partner of ours that we work with on a consistent basis for our customers, and they've got a lot of experience. So please go ahead and utilize them. We would love to talk to you or do a demo, whatever works best for you guys. And XenTegra is always here to help you guys as needed.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Andrea.
I didn't get paid for that either.
Don't worry, I'll send you a little something. Jeremy, any closing remarks from you from the Citrix perspective?
No, I think Andrea wrapped it up, and a lot of good questions actually. So hopefully we got to most of them, I think. So yeah, I appreciate the time, team.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time, Andrea, Jeremy. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is cool stuff. It is at the forefront of what we're doing together, and I really appreciate your time. And for everybody who's still hanging with us at the end of this webinar, thank you so much for your time and attention. Hopefully you learned something useful. We'd love to engage with you, so please feel free to reach out, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.